Ace Pro versus Ace, because most of the reviews, they are regarding the Ace Pro and no one really takes care of the Ace besides. Anyway, this is not going to be a professional studio comparison, even though those two images next to each other here on the screen, they look different. I was setting both of them to shutter speed 1/60th. I record in 4K 30p, ISO 320, white balance is on 5500K, and there is basically the standard color profile on both cameras, so the picture should be more or less identical, even though here on the screen this one looks more like copper colors and the Ace Pro looks more like goldish colors. So let's see in post how these two images compare to each other. By the way, if you want to compare the sound quality, this is the front mic of the Ace Pro and you're listening to it right now. Whereas this is the front mic of the Ace and you're listening to it right now. Check, check, 1, 2. Without further ado, let's go on. And actually this comparison here, it makes sense only now because with the latest firmware update of the Ace Pro, it is also possible to record 4K 30p without HDR. So this is really nice. With the Ace it was already possible before, but right now we can also do it in the Ace Pro, so that's why I put these two images next to each other. So later, of course, in the studio comparison, I'm going to go into the classical 4K image, HDR comparison, low light comparison. I am going to compare the photo quality and of course also all the different color profiles and so forth. So this is going to be interesting. Maybe you consider subscribing to my channel. So this video is really about a direct comparison of the technical data and everything which is similar between these two cameras, or let's say even identical. You have this here as an overview, and if you're interested, just stop the video for a second. Otherwise we will go into the differences, which are much more interesting in case you want to decide which one to buy. Okay, differences first. Very important difference. The Ace can record up to 6K at 30p, whereas the Ace Pro can record 8K, but not in 30p. I mean, film, it was in 24p, and I was also recording a long time at 25p because here in Europe the pale standard is what we used to have. But now like in the last years, I focus more on 30p because I think the movements are a little bit more floating and I think I like the 30p image somehow, but if you want to record at high resolution, I think the Ace could be very interesting because it can in fact record 30p at 6K, whereas when you want to use 30p in the Ace Pro, you are limited to 4K. Yeah? So you should consider this difference. Next point, this could be really interesting. With the latest firmware update, it also became possible to use this function while shooting photography. Before it was only possible in video. The Ace Pro allows a 2x crop by double tapping on the screen or by using this little icon here on the right corner. So you can really zoom in and you still have 4K resolution, which can be very interesting. And the Ace does not have this feature. It's, I think, due to the sensor size and this kind of like 4K, 6K thing. If you want to use a zoom, then of course the Ace Pro is your choice. Next point is comparing and regarding the video modes. Before it was really obvious. In the Ace Pro it was not possible to record a non-HDR image at 30p, which is now possible. So this is not so evident anymore, the difference. But when you look at the menus, you click down here left for the options. Then in the Ace Pro you have the option to turn on and off the HDR mode now, which was not possible before, but in the Ace it's a different solution. You can swipe here between the different video and photo modes, and then you have one which is especially for standard recording and the other one is for HDR recording, and next one is for pure video, which again, like pure video, of course, is available in both cameras. But you should know that the menu structure is a little different, but you will of course get used to this structure. Menus are easy and accessible. So next point regarding the lens. This is pretty interesting because the Ace has somehow the proprietary Insta360 lens inside with an aperture of 2.4, whereas the Ace Pro is on 2.6. This has an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage is of the larger value, like 2.6 with the Ace Pro, you can get a little closer to the lens because here you have a minimum focus distance of 40 centimeters, whereas on the Ace with an aperture of 2.4, the minimal focus distance is 60 centimeters. Right now you should see my face clear on both. By the way, both are running in medium video sharpness because otherwise I think the video image is too over sharpened. So I set the sharpness level to medium. But if I go a little closer like so, you should see that already on the Ace is defocus on my face, whereas the Ace Pro may still be in focus. Next point, and this is pretty hefty. The Ace Pro has the larger sensor, which lets in more light. It has the size of 1/3 inch sensor. If you're living in a region with meters and centimeters, like the sensor has a diagonal, if I pronounce it correctly, length of almost 2 centimeters, whereas in the Ace it is a little bit more than 1 centimeter, like 1.25 centimeter, much smaller sensor, just for you to know. And that means, of course, less light can be perceived by the Ace, and in the coming video where I'm going to compare those two lenses and sensors to each other, there will be much more information regarding to this. So next point, the battery inside the Ace. We have a 1700 milliampere hours battery, which lasts 100 minutes, but charging time is 70 minutes and it's charging with 11 watts, whereas in the Ace Pro you have a little smaller battery, 1650 milliampere hours, lasts also 100 minutes, but for charging it needs only 46 minutes. I was kind of measuring it with 22 watts at least in the beginning of the charging process. So I don't know why they didn't use the same battery for both. Next difference is the menu differences. I already mentioned this topic regarding the video modes. I think this is not much of a problem. Next difference is of course the design. I will show you this kind of short which I produced already some weeks ago. Basically the Ace is a little bit more stylish or interesting because it has the starker contrast between red and black, which it is using more often, but on the other hand the Ace Pro is therefore a little bit more decent, so to say. And also the edges are a little bit more soft on the Ace Pro, but anyway, it's minor differences. Next point for me, I think this was really interesting. The Ace is a little bit more light compared to the Ace Pro, so it's 179.8 grams for the Ace Pro and 176.8 grams for Ace. If you want to connect the camera directly to the computer, like for example you want to use it as a webcam or you want to transfer your data to the computer, in the case of the Ace Pro it's a USB-C to USB-C cable, whereas in the Ace you get a USB-C to USB-A cable. I mean, you have always the chance to take out the micro SD cards and connect it somehow different to the computer, but with most of the computers you are also going to need a certain adapter to read the micro SD cards. So I don't know, have you experienced the same? Last point, in the end, thank you very much for your attention. Don't forget to like or even follow my channel if you're interested in the detailed studio comparison regarding all the image aspects. Whenever you will like my videos, the algorithm is going to be happy and share my video to other people. And then in the very end, there are some few critics, which I'm not really sure about everything, but I want to kind of like open a discussion and you tell me your experiences with the camera in case you're already using it. So first, a point of critique, and I think it was just because of the micro SD card I was using together with the Ace, even though it has a writing speed of 130 megabit per second. But since I'm using the original Insta360 SD micro SD card, as you can see here, now the camera is just recording no problem. But before, once or twice or 3 times, I don't know, this camera was kind of stopping the recording and told me I have a problem because I cannot write fast enough, even though the technical values seemed to be identical. There was also different temperatures outside. Maybe it was because of the cold, but here in studio now it seems to run perfectly well. What's your experience with the SD cards? So the next point of critique, and I don't know if it is 100% if I have the original Insta360 audio adapter, because you know, this DJI Mic 2 which I'm using here, it's not connected via Bluetooth. I'm using the internal recording here because Bluetooth connection since the last update of the Insta360 Ace, or since the last update of the DJI Mic 2, suddenly this Bluetooth connection doesn't function anymore. I was already writing to Insta360 and they say that in a future update they're going to fix it, but right now there is no other chance. Anyway, when I used the microphone adapter with an external input, it's like a TRS input, and then when at the same time I use an external power bank to power the camera like I'm doing now with both cameras, then there was like some kind of strange humming noise being recorded, which completely doesn't make sense together with a microphone adapter. Did you experience the same? And if so, please write a comment and explain under what conditions. Then next kind of problem which I discovered regarding the Ace Pro, which by the way I bought for my own money, whereas the Ace was sent to me by Insta360 to compare it. I lost the connection to this guy from Insta360 at the time. Anyway, so I'm just showing you my honest opinion here. When I recorded the Ace Pro in Freeframe Mode, I was always able to use image stabilization or like dewarp mode, and then even a horizontal lock. And when you use these modes, then of course you're always going to crop in a little bit further into the image because the camera needs to have more space on the sensor to correct these kind of movements. When I record in Freeframe Mode and I go closer by using these modes, then suddenly, I don't know for which reason, when I have the recorded video, there will be the completely wide angle image, which is really funny because I select a certain type of image and then instead it records the wide angle version and I have to recrop in, and then also the de-squeeze is disappeared and everything looks like funny, like a fisheye or something. The last problem to mention is the problem with the DJI Mic 2, and I already did certain videos regarding this topic and I already explained this right now. Hopefully in a future update it will be possible to connect those guys together. Anyway, thanks for your attention. This was the technical data comparison between these two cameras, and the studio image comparison thing is coming soon. So see you. Bye bye.